Welcome back to Blake's Takes, everyone. Now I know what you're thinking, Blake. 2 episodes in 1 week. What's going on with you? I know. Well, it is just it's a busy week. It's a busy time right now. But we do have another exciting episode today. As I'm sure all of you know by now, I am executive producing a independent horror comedy film called Don't Trip. And today's special because we got the man, the myth, the legend himself behind the script of Don't Trip. We have Alex Kugelman,
Hi. Wow. What a beautiful introduction. That was
right?
that was wild shit. Thank you. Thank you
Hey,
for
it's
having me, Blake.
yeah,
What a
absolutely.
unique honor. I am very, very excited to be here. Thank you.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's been a wild journey. So yes, we have had the Kickstarter campaign. What day are we on now? We have 10 days to go.
10 days to go. I think today is day 20.
Day 20.
Yeah, and everything's going great. No,
Oh yeah. So yeah, if you don't know, yeah, Kickstarter is how we are raising funds to get this movie made, get this movie greenlit. We are almost at our goal at 100,000. We're at what, 90,000 now?
we're at, to be precise, $90,342 at the time of this recording.
Wow.
Not that I refresh the page every 12 seconds or anything like that.
Right. But also exciting news as well. If we do get how many more donors by Friday night now?
Yeah, we need about 270 more donations, and one of our vendors is going to give us this amazing, like $300,000 camera package with like red cameras and lights and specific lenses and apertures and stands and all this stuff. But we need to get 300 total donations, any size counts. So yeah, we need 300, and we can get that sick camera package. It's going to really help our
Yeah.
film.
No, that's absolutely huge. I don't think people realize like how huge that is to get that equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
things get expensive on sets.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you do want to help out, make sure. I mean, the link is going to be in my bio. It's going to be in Alex's bio, TikTok, Instagram. Like we said, any size donation to get us to that goal by Friday night to get that free camera equipment. Because yeah, that is huge. That is going to be huge.
Yeah.
I'll go over a little bit how me and Alex got to meet, and then Alex, I want to go over your journey and what led to this movie as well.
Sure.
So, I mean, Alex, you reached out to me what, November? It was around November,
Yeah.
so months ago. And you reached out about the idea of executive producing your script that you wrote, horror comedy, Don't Trip. And at first, like, with my email in the bio at Blake's Takes, I do get a lot of emails. And I don't know, there's just something, I read your email over and over again. And I was like, you know what? This sounds intriguing. So I reached back out to you. You sent me over your script. I absolutely loved it. And I was like, you know what? Everyone does have to start somewhere. And this is exactly what I went to school for, film school. I was like, I want to help this. I want this movie to get made. This is big.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So sick.
But uh
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, what made you, reach out in the first place?
Right. Well, so I wrote this script. We can go back, to give some context. It's like I'm a writer director. I've been in LA for like 8 years, and for a really long time, I was trying to get big movies made. I would write these big, what are called spec scripts, where you write a script on your own for free, and in the hopes that you're going to sell it to a production company or a studio, and do it that way. And I tried doing that for years, and I was an assistant, and I was taking all these different angles, and it's kind of what the movie is actually about in some sort of abstract way, or not really abstract at all. And I kind of just came to the realization that the only way that I'm ever going to get a movie made is if I just make it on my own. If I
Mhm.
if I just kept waiting for someone to green light one of these scripts and be like, yeah, let's go do it. It's like, that's never going to happen. So I'm like, I really
Right.
needed to change the way that I was approaching this and make a much smaller movie that I can actually make for, a couple $100,000, which yes, is a lot of money, but like, you can raise that as we have shown, like
Right.
we have raised over $90,000 on Kickstarter as of this moment. So we're gonna make this movie. We are effectively greenlighting our own movie. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, you hear, the word a few $100,000 and you instantly think, that is a crazy amount of money. But when it comes to movies in themselves, like you look at all of these budgets of even independent films as well, it's still not that crazy amount of money.
I mean,
Not at all.
that's like the lunch budget on a lot of movies. I mean,
Right? Yeah.
it gets very expensive very fast. I mean, like
Right.
it's because I mean it's an expensive art form to do. I
Yes.
mean to make a certain movie a certain type of way. It just things balloon. They get very expensive. And it's inevitable. But on the other hand, technology has made it a lot cheaper to make movies. Like
Right.
you. Um, can get access to really great cameras and great equipment and great people who have that stuff. You know what I mean? I think, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, it's like to shoot something on film for $200,000 and like have the film developed and then get it
Yep.
transferred and then find someone who can cut it. Whereas now it's like, okay, I know the
Yep.
guy who has the cameras. He can get it to us. We put it on a memory card. We give it to our editor. He has a computer and he cuts the film. Like it's like
Yes.
it's an oversimplification of things, but um, movie making has gotten a lot cheaper for
Yeah.
the better of filmmaking. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's a lot of been a lot of like the middleman cut out of certain things, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like you used to not be able to edit. You used to have to cut film. You know what I mean? Like,
Crazy.
whereas now it's like I have a laptop, I have a MacBook Pro, and it's like I can download the software, and where it's like,
Uh-huh.
20 years ago, it's like to edit film was such a niche thing, and like even now on TikTok, it's like it's part of everyone's job is to be a film editor now. Is like to edit video. You know what I mean? Like,
It's funny you say that because I swear whenever I'm on TikTok, there's like some edits I see on there of just the most random shit. But I'm like, why is this edit so good? What are you guys doing in your free time?
yeah, I see some insane transitions and things that are
Yeah.
really, really, really well put together. Because that's the nice thing about the internet is that you can actually learn how to do this shit. I mean, like, I
Mhm.
never went to a tradition. Like, I went to the University of Colorado, Boulder, and I was in the creative writing program there, but they did not offer screenwriting programs. Like, I had to teach myself how to do it from downloading scripts online and just watching just watching movies and like
Mhm.
watching YouTube tutorials on how to write and like the information is out there, which is awesome, and even
Yeah.
more so on TikTok. That's a whole other discussion, but
Yeah. Self-taught man though. I like that.
yeah, to a degree.
So I know, I know the fans have heard me talk about the script Don't Trip, but now I want them to hear it from your perspective as well.
Sure,
And what led you to this and
sure. Uh,
what it's about.
Yeah, yeah. So Don't Trip is a horror comedy feature film about a screenwriter who's trying to break into Hollywood, and he's trying to like sell his script, and he's trying to look for an angle, and he meets this kid whose dad is like the biggest producer in town. So our screenwriter is like, okay, I'm going to befriend the kid. He's going to read the script. He'll give it to his dad, and it'll sell, and everything will be
Yep.
great. But what he doesn't know is that this producer's kid, Trip, is a very troubled young man, and they enter into a very toxic relationship that kind of goes off the rails, and that's where the movie sort of takes a turn. I don't want to give too much
Uh-huh.
away. No
Right.
spoiler alert. But yeah, I mean, like the movie. Uh, thank God it's not biographical by any means, but like there's definitely a lot inspired by my life. I mean, I think the number one rule as a writer, people are like, don't write a movie about being a screenwriter, which I adhered to for many years. This is really one of the first things I've ever written about like Hollywood and like, that's probably not true, but um, you know, I just thought that this journey was interesting and like it's so not like biographical by any means. Like a lot of the stuff in the script is incredibly like exaggerated and like dramatized to for impact, for story. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's just and I also think that the movie is not necessarily purely a showbiz movie. Like it's not purely about Hollywood. I think it's more just about relationships and toxic relationships, especially
Mhm.
in LA or really any industry where people sort of use each other in a transactional way, whether it's to, using someone to get your script sold or using someone to, get into a higher position in business or any sort of social climbing, like that to me, that's really what the movie is about. It's about like transactional relationships.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, have you found yourself in those similar situations in the time that you've been in LA as well, or
Yeah. Uh,
yeah.
LA is it's a crazy place. I mean, I'm from New York.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah. I mean, it's there's definitely a lot of that social climbing shit, and like I have been in that, and I've been in certain crowds and with people, and like, but like it never plays out. You never, no one ever wins in that scenario. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Where it's like, people will slit your throat out here to fucking get that role or to get ahead. It's very true. It's like you have to be very secure in your circle, and like the people on the business end of things it can get really tricky.
Oh, yeah.
And social climbing is not the most effective way to get to where you want. It's a losing game, in my
Mhm.
experience. I mean, like, it's just not going to get you to where you want to be. What's going to get you to where you want to be is being really good at what you do. And it's like I think there's this misconception of like, oh, it's all about who you know. It's all about who you know, and it's like to an extent, like it's like it can open doors, but like even you look at people who I think there's like this big discussion of like nepotism babies, and it's like,
Right.
yeah, like it's like even if you do have like a fucking famous parent, it's like doesn't always guarantee that you're gonna have like a career. There's it obviously helps and you get leaps and
Right.
bounds ahead of the rest of the competition, but like there's no guarantees, like it's
You still gotta be good.
yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I think it
For the
depends.
most part, maybe.
There definitely is some relationship shit, and like, it will get you further, but like, yeah, you gotta fucking be good, and that's like the
Yeah.
baseline. The baseline is being really good at what you do, and that's like the most important thing.
Mm. So is screenwriting, being a director as well, is that something that you always envisioned yourself doing? Is that what you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, in some way or another, I was just always obsessed with movies since I was a child. Like I have three brothers and they're very into sports. And like, I was kind of like, I'm going to go the other way. And I was like really into movies. And I always
Mhm.
was like just watching movies and TV shows. And like, I never really cared about sports and I still don't. Yeah, I just don't give a shit.
Well, it's funny for me because like, sports was my whole life growing up, and now look at me.
Really? When did
Yeah.
you make the turn into like caring about movies?
I transitioned probably around when I did honestly stop playing sports. So I grew up, little league, middle school, high school, playing football, baseball, soccer, all the
Wow.
sports. And I did want to, try college football. So I did college football for a year.
Wow.
Once I decided that was not for me, because it is a job. I mean, you're putting in 60 hours a week, 18 years old. You really don't know what's gonna hit you.
Right.
They don't prep you for it. Um, but I was like, you know what, this isn't for me. So I was just in that time period where I didn't know what I was into. Like I was like, what am I gonna do with my life?
Right.
But you're young. It's fine. You got time to decide that. And I just really started into getting into like how movies were made, looking behind the scenes, all that good stuff, just watching movie after movie, getting into the classics. Because no one ever really taught or showed me movies on their own. You know how like a lot of parents who are into the movies, they show their kids movies and all that good
Sure.
stuff.
Sure. Sure.
you know, Growing up, I was only playing sports. So really the main concern or main thing my dad was teaching me was sports. It wasn't really
Right.
movies. So I kind of feel like I found that avenue on my own, which I'm proud about in my own way. But that's when I started to make that turn like sophomore year in college, which seems kind of late. And I think that's why, at first I was a little hesitant because still feeling like that jock stereotype.
Sure.
I feel like I didn't fit in with the crowd.
Sure.
Um, but I mean, it's worked out.
And you majored in film, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I decided to major in film.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that I think you hear a lot of that where people are like, my dad sat me down and we watched The Godfather together. And
Mhm.
it's like I never had that experience either. You know what I mean? Like movies were a part of our life, and we would watch movies, but it was not like I think people want to like have this sort of like Spielberg experience where it's like I remember seeing in 35 millimeter Jaws on the big screen, and it's like you kind of have to carve it out for yourself, and like I mean
Yes.
the internet was that for me. I remember like as a teenager, someone showed me that like, hey, you can like torrent movies and you can like illegally download any single movie that you want to watch. And I was like, oh my god! And then I would just watch I would be like, okay, I would like literally look up like 100 greatest movies of all time, and I would just watch literally all of them, and I would just like became obsessed. Thanks to the internet, mostly,
Mhm.
and even like going to Blockbuster and shit like that was very like
Blockbuster, yeah, for sure.
Blockbuster was major.
And it's funny you said that because I did just watch The Fablemans, the
Mm,
other night,
mm.
and yeah, just exposed to all that as a kid. I mean, his parents getting him all the cameras that, he wanted to do for filming, and I mean, yeah, he that's what he knew he wanted to do at a young age, and that was that direction. Um, but, it's like there was people there helping him out to find that, passion as well.
Yeah,
I
I
just yeah,
mean,
I never had that experience.
right, right. I mean, like people are like, wow, he's such a good director at 25 years old, Steven Spielberg. And it's like, you watch the movie, it's like, yeah, he's been directing movies since he was 9 years old, like
Yeah.
it's like he's like a little child prodigy. Not to say that it's like in his DNA or in his blood or whatever, but like, yeah, I mean, like, I definitely didn't have that. I was terrified. I mean, I still am like scared to like touch a camera. I mean, like, that's kind of the beauty of being a director is that like you get to hire a DP who's like, yeah, it's my job
Uh-huh.
with the film. That was really scary for me because I was like, I don't understand how cameras work, how lenses, f stops, like aperture, all that shit. It was very scary and intimidating to me. And I kind of like what you experienced, where I was like, I'm not an artist. I don't come from an artist's family. No one in my family
Mhm.
is an artist. We don't live in New York City. We live in Long Island. Like everyone here is like in finance. Like no one is an artist, and like you're not really supposed to do that. So yeah, it was kind of like, and I was like, oh, an artist, is like a guy who wears a turtleneck and like has like a cool hat, like and is like one of those kind of people. So it was very like ingrained into me that like, oh, you're not one of those guys, where it's like that, that shit doesn't really matter. It's like then you meet a lot of those people who do, you know, look and dress like an artist, and then you're like, but what do you make? And they don't make anything. So you're like, oh,
Right.
you know.
No, yeah, I know exactly what you mean because I think for the longest time, I just didn't wanna I just didn't wanna feel like a fraud. Like, I know because I mean, when I put my heart into something, I know my work ethic, I know I'm gonna work hard, but at the end of the day, I was like, "Damn, I don't wanna feel like a fraud, though. I don't wanna feel like I don't belong in this, business or."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think and that's another thing to go back to LA, where it's like things can be very competitive here,
Mhm,
and it's you got to find your circle where people are not competing with you but want to help you. I have so many friends who are like, oh no, I want to help you make your project better. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily about like, oh, let me give your script to my agent kind of thing. It's really not in that way, but in the way of like, oh, I actually know a great editor who he edits horror and comedy movies. You should meet him. And then I meet that guy and we hit it off, and he's like, oh yeah, I actually know a really good sound designer who would be good for this. And it's like, you kind of need to find the people who are not competing with you, but like, because it's like you're not really competing against each other. It's like I think that and I discussed this recently, where it's like I think there's this idea of like there's 5 spots at Netflix, and we're all fighting for that like one spot, and it's like you got to just make your own movie independently. And it's like, I'm not, we're on Kickstarter, and it's like, we're not competing against other people on Kickstarter. We're
mhm,
competing against time, like it's like we have
mhm,
X amount of days to make this happen. But it's like, well, you go on Kickstarter, you could fucking donate to as many projects as you want. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really not, it is very competitive. I mean, I think for different people, for actors, maybe, you know what I mean? It's like there are only
yeah,
X amount of jobs, and they're competing for those jobs. But and writers too. It's like if you're trying to get into like a writer's room or whatever. I mean, I kind of like I wanted to do that, or I was like, yeah, that would be sick. Like if someone wants to pay me a shit ton of money to write on a television show, great. And I still, if you're listening to this and you want to pay me a shit ton of money to write on a television show, email me, I'll do it. But like I'm not going to wait around for that. I need to create my own job, like,
Yeah.
and that's what we're doing here. And that's the people who I have seen be really successful in this industry. They have done the same thing as they have time and time again created their own jobs. They haven't waited.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's a good point you bring up, about not really competing against other people, but really when it comes down to it, competing against yourself. Like maybe the
Yeah.
main thing holding you back is yourself. And I think that was the biggest turnaround for me was, finding that security in myself, just knowing who I was, knowing what I can bring to the table, and not really caring what other people are going to say or think.
Well, yeah, I mean, people are gonna. You can make the best thing in the world. People are gonna call it a piece of shit. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it's like people are gonna hate it anyway. You got to find the people who, and it's like you just gotta fucking go. It's like there's no one who is gonna open the door for you. You gotta fucking smack. Sorry, I'm cursing a lot. I hope that's okay.
Oh, you're
But
good. Garrett curses all the time.
sick. Yeah, I mean, you can't really wait for someone to open a door. You got to get a rock and smash a window in. Like it's like you got to figure out your own way. Like, because I mean, that was my life for years. I was waiting on someone to read one of my scripts and be like, okay, this is it. This is the moment. We're gonna, sweep you away. We're gonna give you $1 million and we're gonna make the movie. And it's like I've been in LA for 8 years and like I've never really seen that happen to anyone. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's really not how it happens. It's like, the barrier for entry now is like it's not enough to just write a great script. It's like they're like, okay, well go make it. Go shoot the movie and then we'll talk. And it's like, oh, okay. Like I have to like write the script, build the team, raise the money, cast it myself, like I mean I have an amazing team with me and you included, but like, you have to be a real self-starter. You can't wait.
Mhm.
And it's like, and crowdfunding is a part of it. I mean, like it's kind of like a four-letter word, where people don't want to. It's like the elephant in the room is money. I think you see all these. Like, it's very interesting to me where it's like everyone's like, I'm going to take a master class on directing, and it's like, okay, but what are you directing with? Like, what money? Like, where do I get the money to fucking direct one of these things? You know what I mean? It's
Uh-huh.
like, what are we talking about? Yeah, great. I could watch all the Martin Scorsese masterclass YouTube videos on like, oh, and here's how you use a crane shot, and it's like, with what money am I using? Getting a crane? You know what I mean? Where it's like, where
Yep.
where is someone who's telling me how to get money to make my movies? Like that. That's
Right.
really the big question, and that's kind of where Kickstarter comes into play. It's a viable option for people who don't have, movies get expensive if you don't have, a couple $100,000 laying around. I mean, yes, you can make movies for cheaper. Like we said, you can make a movie for $10,000 and blah blah blah. But like, it's the if you want to sort of level up, you need some money to make a movie. It's
Mhm.
inevitable.
Yeah, especially to get that full vision truly made. No, it is great, and I mean, I wanna give props to you and, like, this whole team that you put
Oh, thank
together
you.
because it is a lot. Like, if people saw, how many people were on the team, all the meetings, what goes into getting a Kickstarter actually made,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lot.
yeah,
It is a lot. I'm sure this has been the craziest, past 6 months of your life.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I wish it wasn't. I wish someone did read the script and gave me a check for $1 million and said, "All right, kid, go make the movie." But if I just sat around and crossed my fingers and waited for that moment to happen, I'll be waiting until I die. Like it's like
Right.
it to me. There were two options when it came to this movie. I was like, okay, I either get a team together to crowdfund and make this movie independently, or we don't make the movie. Those like that's it, because it's like no one is ever going to read this script and like be like, okay, here we go. Like it's just not uh it's just not going to happen. It's like I could hope for that, but it's just not going to happen, and that's cool. I mean,
Right.
like now we have control. Now it's our movie.
Yeah.
Like I think that we are going to end this process of having a Kickstarter with $100,000. It's a lot of money. $100,000. It's $100,000, and we have no one to answer to. I mean, like, yes,
Right.
we when I say that, I mean like, yes, we need to fulfill the Kickstarter and do all that kind of stuff. But it's like when you make a movie and someone gives you money, it's like you gotta they want to see it. They're like, okay, well, what are you doing? Where's the money going?
Yep.
Like, you have to do it sort of their way. Where I think it's very interesting, where you can raise money independently with no one to answer to. It's a very, very, very rare thing to get that much money with, you know, especially starting out. It's rare and it's awesome. I mean, like it's a really cool thing. It did not come easy. I wish it did.
No.
I wish this was a very easy process of just like I could say that, hey, we just threw this website together in a weekend and we put it out there and we did a couple Instagram posts and we raised $100,000, but that was not the reality of the situation at all. There was a ton of work that went into the prep of this campaign, and outreach and marketing and team building, and spending weeks and weeks on Zoom calls, getting people, like yourself, to do this, convincing you to do this.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, it's a ton of work, and that's just to get the money to make the movie. Like we
Yeah.
haven't even started pre-production yet, like that. So it's like, you just gotta want it that fucking badly,
Yep.
like that's really the barrier for entry.
It is. It is. But the good thing is that I think everyone can tell that you want this badly, and that's the most important thing. You can't take away people's dedication to get this shit made.
Right. Well, it's like everything's there. The tools are there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like this. All I have to do is write. Not all, but like there is a blueprint there. If you want it badly enough, you can go get it. You know what I mean? Where it's like you don't have to cross your fingers and wait. You know what I mean? Where it's like you will you and now that we do have the money, we are getting people interested in the project who would never in a million years be interested in this project if we did not do it this way. And when I say people, I mean legitimate people are hitting me up about this project.
Mm.
Like exciting people that I would like always love to work with. Like I'm getting emails because guess what? We're the number one movie on Kickstarter, and like, oh, and guess what? They're interested in the project and they haven't even read the script. You know what I mean? And it's
Mm.
like you have to get the train moving. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
it's not enough to have a screenplay, and it's
Uh-huh.
like you got to get people interested in a moving project. You know what I mean? I mean, the screenplay is the start of it, and then you got, it's like dominoes. You got to get
Yep.
one person involved, and they're like, oh, that person's involved. Oh, maybe we could get this person. Da, 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 and then you sort of like piece this thing together. Yeah, it's incredibly stressful. At times, if you don't like stress, then you shouldn't make movies. I don't think. I mean, like it's just inevitable. I mean, there's a ton of conflict, and just you're not like you're fighting for this vision. Um, then there's inevitable conflict.
Yeah. Well, trains rolling and all aboard, motherfuckers, because this shit's happening.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't stop us now.
All right. So yes, obviously a horror comedy, horror movie. What are some of your, favorite horror movies, and what are some horror movies that inspired the script to you as well?
Sure. Definitely Scream. Scream, I love. I know we've talked about that
Oh
movie.
yeah.
Scream, The Shining. More recent movies, I love Barbarian. I thought that movie was incredible. Um, I wasn't like a big like horror guy growing up. I was actually terrified of horror movies.
Same.
I couldn't stomach them at all. I would literally have to like run out of the room. I even going back to Blockbuster, I remember I would have memories of like not being able to go down certain aisles because like even the as a kid the VHS covers of like Chucky of Child's Play scared the shit out of me, and I couldn't even look at the VHS covers or even things like The Mask, that Jim Carrey movie. That was just terrifying to me as a kid. I have grown up and it's not as scary now. But yeah, I like elevated horror too, like the Ari Aster kind of like Hereditary, Midsummer, kind of like A24 elevated horror, whatever
Yeah.
genre shit. But the movies that inspired this movie specifically, probably the closest comp and what I've talked about is Cable Guy with Jim Carrey. Um, Speaking of The Mask, I love Jim Carrey. A lot. He is really funny, and I grew up on a lot of his movies. But The Cable Guy specifically is a really great example of a movie that is like very dark and borderlines on horror, kind of thriller vibe,
Uh-huh.
but then also really funny. I mean, I think it's a very funny movie, and stylistically, I want to do a similar thing where our main character and actor Will Sennett, who's an amazing comedian and actor, like he kind of has like a similar energy to Jim Carrey, and a lot of that movie, The Cable Guy, is just Jim Carrey being like just going crazy, which is what I want Will to do. Like I'm very open to improv and like like go just fucking go for it on set. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like which
Mhm.
is it's a similar sort of structure to that movie.
Yeah. I remember, another movie that you had told me to watch, was Ingrid Goes West,
Oh yeah, what do you
and
think of that?
yeah. Dude, I watched it, like, 3 weeks ago or something like that. I actually really loved it. I was
Yeah,
not, expecting that.
yeah,
It
it's
was
incredible.
great.
Um,
And, Aubrey Plaza, I hadn't seen too many movies, of Aubrey Plaza, like, outside of Parks and Rec,
mhm,
so that just made me wanna watch more movies with her, and especially with Elizabeth Olsen. I hadn't
mm,
really seen much of her outside of the Marvel movies,
yeah.
and I just had a great time with it. It was
Yeah,
good.
really good movie. That's another one that like I think that movie is great LA satire. I think it
Uh-huh.
really captures a lot of like the influencer culture out here and like the rich kid kind of shit. Um, but also a great blend of comedy and not really horror, but it's dark. It's a dark
Yes.
comedy. And
Yes.
it that movie kind of feels like it could teeter over the edge at any moment. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it feels like I don't think it does go there. You kind of want it to go a little further than it
Mhm.
does. I don't know if you had that same impulse, but like, yeah, I aesthetically too, really beautifully well shot movie that really captures L.A. and
Uh-huh.
Palm Springs and like Joshua Tree and all that kind of shit in a very accurate way. I really love the way that movie was shot. Have you
Yeah.
seen Have you seen Under the Silver Lake? Have you seen that movie?
I have not.
It's with Andrew Garfield. It was directed by the guy
Oh,
who,
really?
yeah, you would like it. It's the guy who did what's It Follows. Did you see that
Okay.
movie?
Yeah, 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 I have seen It Follows.
Yeah, it's the same director as that movie. And Ingrid Goes West is kind of like in the same sort of realm. It's like the Under the Silver Lake. It's kind of like way more out there. It's kind of like more like a fantasy neo noir
Right.
movie about Silver Lake, Los Angeles. I think you would dig it, but that definitely is also another one that's like similar kind of vibes. Uh,
Yeah, I gotta check that out because 'cause I've been loving some Andrew Garfield lately.
yeah, he's an excellent actor. He's like
He's amazing.
he's really never bad in anything. And he's another one of those guys where I see him in an interview and he's talking. He's like, "Oh well, we shot the movie," and I'm like, "Oh, that guy's not American." Like, I don't understand how. I mean, terrible accent. That's not how he sounds at all. But yeah.
No, he does have a great American accent.
That blows my mind. Where it's like,
Yeah.
uh, to go off on a tangent, but like the guy from Succession, who plays Tom, Matthew McFadden, like
Mm.
he is British as well, and he has, and same with. Do you watch that show?
No, I don't, but I was gonna say another person is, Daniel Kaluuya.
Oh yeah, is he British?
Yeah.
Really? That's so fun.
Yeah. It is. No, watching him in interviews, because I mean, at first, I see him in Get Out and then, other films, but I was like, "Damn,
Or even
he
yeah,
has a
like
great
Russell
American accent."
Crowe has like a strong like Australian accent, or Christian
Yeah.
Bale, and it's like at some or Christian Bale's weird where I'm like, haven't you done so many roles and like acting shit that it's like, wouldn't you lose the accent by now? I don't,
Uh-huh.
interesting.
But yeah, oh my god, that's funny.
Yeah.
Alright. So I know a lot of people, I've been posting about the movie, obviously, and people are asking, like, how can I see this? What's the game plan? And I know we know the game plan, but for the fans' sakes, if
Right.
yeah, what is the game plan for Don't Trip once we do get funded for this movie?
Well, once we get funded for the movie, we are then the Kickstarter ends March 10th, 2023. As soon as that ends, we enter what's called pre-production, which is just prepping for the movie for because we're going to shoot in August, the first week of August. So basically, from March until August, we are doing prep for the movie, which is like all of the casting, getting locations, getting wardrobe, get hiring everyone, just getting everything into place so that, scheduling everything so that we are ready to shoot in August. And then boom, we're shooting the movie uh, the first like 3 weeks of August 2023. And then from August pretty much until January will be, I mean, I rough estimate will be in post production. That's
Mhm.
probably an early guess. But yeah, by 2024, the movie will hopefully be out there. I mean, in some form of another, if you were to donate to the Kickstarter, you will 100% be one of the first people to see the movie on a private digital download link way before anyone else would be able to see it, because we are going to go through a distributor and we are going to get it released. And it's like, once you enter into that world, they could be like, oh well, we don't want to, we're going to wait another 8 months to release the,
Right.
like,
Yes.
that could be a whole other thing. But if you were to get the movie via us, we could send you like a friends and family sort of link that we could share the
Mhm.
movie with you, which is, you wouldn't have to wait until it's on Amazon or iTunes or even in theaters. Which, yeah, I don't know if the movie will be in theater. That would be sick. It's like someone was like, "Well, is it going to be in theaters?" And I'm like, I like that didn't even enter my mind, because I'm like,
Right.
like that's so crazy to me. Like, I would fucking love that if someone wants
Wouldn't
to.
that be crazy?
Yeah, it would be crazy, Blake. I literally, it really would be crazy. That's like, I don't know. I feel like that's like if you're a musician and they're like, yeah, like, are you gonna sell like vinyl? And it's like, yeah, me, I don't know. Like, I'm just like so used to like things being on the internet that I'm like, it didn't even enter my mind that we could put it into theaters. I mean, yeah, it would be sick if they want to release my movie into theaters. And if you're a distributor and you're listening to this, yes, please put our movie into theaters. People will go and pay for it. So yeah, that would be sick.
That would be sick. But you heard the man, guys. You know what to do.
Yeah.
If you do wanna see it, make sure you help us get this movie made.
Yeah, don'ttripmovie.com/Blake's takes. Go click the link, donate, buy a hoodie, and let's help get this movie made. You could be a part of it. We got 10 days left on the Kickstarter, and then we're gonna make a sick movie, and we'd love for
Yes,
you to
sir.
be a part of it.
Absolutely.
That's my pitch.
All right. Well, no, yeah, you do have great pitches. That I will say that was another reason why, I wanted to get involved with this project too. I was like, damn, he makes some good points.
I used to work. Have you ever seen Wolf of Wall Street?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm from Long Island, and like in Wolf of Wall Street, like before he goes and works at like the big firm, he works at like one of those like shitty like
Yes.
strip mall kind of like. I when I was in high school, I worked at a place like that. So I was like a connector. I was just I
Mm.
for hours. I would just they'd give me a phone book, and I would just call people all day. So I was just around people selling constantly. So I think I maybe picked up a little bit of that like, sleazy Long Island stockbroker salesman aspect to me. Maybe that's
Damn, cold calling. Damn, that's yeah, because I feel like I would fail at cold calling like that. I don't know.
well. I wasn't. I All I had to do was like connect the brokers.
Okay.
They would be the ones that failed. All I had to do,
Okay.
like, I would call 1,000 people a day, and I'd be like, "Hey, is this Mr. Johnson?" And he'd be like, "Yes." And then boom, I would connect into a stockbroker, and then the stockbroker would be like, "Okay, let me tell you about blah, blah, blah," and then they would pitch them. And if they sold something, I would get like $50 or something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, or some shit like that. But they never sold anything. It was very. That's a whole other story that I'll
All right.
tell.
Well, I know you're a busy man. Any last words for us today?
No, thank you for having me so much, Blake. This is awesome. Yeah, thank you for listening. Very excited to make this movie, and yeah, check us out. Don'ttripmovie.com/Blake's takes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is exciting times. I have all my faith in Alex to get this movie made, and it's gonna be
Um,
amazing. I mean, I'm really excited, and I mean, I'm excited just for this new opportunity for me as well to dive into other opportunities in this industry that I love.
yeah.
So, it's a whole new journey, and you got to try new things. You got to
You got to jump in.
jump in. You got to get outside your comfort zone. My mom, there was always this quote that always stuck with me when I was younger. She even had it made on like a some wooden panel that I have hung up in my bathroom.
Mhm.
Uh, every oh yeah, everything you've ever wanted is right outside your comfort zone.
It's true. It's true,
I think
and
so.
it's very true, and that's been the experience with this movie as well. I mean, we were complete strangers a few months ago, and now look at us. We're making a film.
Mhm.
You know?
It's crazy. And yeah, that's what's been so great about so like you said, internet, social media these days is being able to meet other creators and just building projects together,
Yeah, it's sick.
creating relationships. It's crazy.
Amazing.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us, Alex.
Thank you
Once
for having me,
again,
man. This is
yeah,
awesome. Really.
absolutely. Once again, thank you everyone for listening. And like we said, we are almost there. We're gonna get this movie funded, greenlit this week. We are almost at our goal of 100,000. We only need what was it, 270 more backers for the camera equipment.
270 more. Let's do it.
270 more. So if you want to click on the link on my Insta bio, on my TikTok bio, help us back this movie, help us get to that mark so we get $300,000 worth of camera equipment for free for this movie. I mean, that's insane.
Amazing.
But all right, thank you, man. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining. Absolutely. And thanks again for listening to this podcast. We will see you guys next time on Blake's Takes.